Okay, so today we are going to talk function declarations, and functions are super helpful and honestly such a core part of writing any kind of app or any kind of JavaScript file you're using on your website. That it's just really good to really deeply understand functions, and declarations is one of the more traditional ways of using functions. So a function declaration is actually quite literal in its explanation. It is a way to declare a function and use it later on. So let's go ahead and declare a function here. So we use this JavaScript keyword function, and then we name the function. So we're going to call this function say hi, and we come down into the body of the function here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to do a simple return, and we're going to send back hi. Pretty simple there. So when I save this, I'm going to go ahead and run this in the terminal here using Node. And okay, that's weird. We didn't get anything back. I was partly expecting to get hi back, but the reason that doesn't happen is because all we've done here is declare the function. We haven't called the function. Calling the function is kind of the second part. If you can think of using functions as a two-part process, the first part is declaring them. So we'll call that one. And then the second part is calling them. Also, you'll hear people say invoking them or executing them. So in order to do that, what we have to do is, and I'm actually just going to use the console to do this. We use the name of the function, and should be that simple. Okay, but this also isn't the behavior we expected. What this is doing is actually, and what this tells me we did is we reference the function. We didn't actually call it or invoke it. So I'm actually going to remove that because it's not accurate. So we can reference the function, but what we want to do is we want to call the function. So how we do that is actually very similar to referencing it, although the behavior is totally different. We have to add these parentheses at the end. And this should generate the behavior that we want. And you can see we're still getting the console log from the reference, which I'm just going to leave for the sake of example. But this is what gives us our returned value, which is just the string hi with the exclamation point. So, I mean, that's about as basic as functions get right there. I'm going to show one other example, slightly more complicated, I guess, and some of these comments can kind of get a little confusing, so I'm just going to simplify this stuff here. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to declare another function. So and we're going to call this function greet user. But what's going to be different about this function is we're going to also declare a parameter that this function is going to use. And that parameter is going to be called user name. And so what we'll do here is we'll return, again, a very simple string, except for we're going to actually use this parameter in our return statement. I can't spell application, evidently. Okay, so now we have our parameter in our return string here. And again, if we save and go ahead and run this in the terminal, important little reminder is that all we've done here is we've declared it. Remember, using function declarations is a two-step process. Step one is we declare them, which is what we did right there. And step two is we have to execute them. And so how we do that is we come down here and we, again, console log greet user and we can't forget the parentheses. So if we do that, we'll look for the third return here, or the third console log. So the first one, remember, is the reference to our function. The second one is actually the executed first function. And the third one is our executed second function here. But what we're seeing here is undefined, which is kind of weird. I maybe would have expected username or something like that, but we get undefined. So the reason why this happens is because if we call or execute a function that has declared a parameter and we don't pass anything for the parameter, it gets resolved to undefined. And so this actually is the behavior that we would expect. The way we fix this is simply just passing in a string, and just going to pass in new user. Something kind of boring. Maybe, let's throw in Bob. Let's make it more interesting there. And I'm going to go ahead and comment out these two just so we can see only what we want to see here. And I come down here, run our file with Node, and we can see, hi Bob, welcome to our new application, which is the behavior that we would expect from this. So that honestly is as simple as function declarations get. The important thing to remember is declaring functions is a two-step process, which I will commonly forget, is that the first step is declaring the function, and the second step is executing, calling, invoking it. Those terms are synonymous and honestly used interchangeably a lot. And a little bonus here before we're done is what happens if we switch up the order here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove our comments here. So what happens if we take our console log where we're executing the function and put it above the declaration? See, you would think that you would come down here and JavaScript would go ahead and try to console log greet user and pass in Bob before we had actually been able to use this function. And I will show you that this does still work. So it doesn't matter the order that you have this. And that's because of a thing called hoisting, which is a way that basically it's just a way that JavaScript works, in the sense that JavaScript will actually come down and read your entire file before executing it line by line, which enables this function to be hoisted up and used right here. And that's just a little fun tidbit to remember, a little gotcha, but this is function declarations, and it's really not too bad. It's a great thing to practice with, and it's a great way to make your code less complicated and use and make things more reusable. For example, we can console log, say we want to kick out 3 greetings. Instead of having to do a greeting for Bob, greeting for Sue, and a greeting for Larry, we don't have to do this all 3 times. We can simply declare the function once and get the result 3 times. So this is how you kind of start to see how this will become more useful, is you don't have to have code that says, hi Bob, welcome to our new application. Hi Sue, welcome to our new application. Like in your code base, you say it once, and this is what creates reusable components, and that is what functions are all about.